Sarsha slid her ancient suitcase across the worn wooden floor of the Juniper Peak Lodge, letting out a heavy sigh that fogged the already frosty air. She despised rustic charm. Her boss had insisted she attend this mandatory winter wellness retreat for her department, threatening her year-end bonus if she refused. Sarsha viewed winter wellness as a myth perpetuated by people who enjoyed being cold. The lodge lobby was aggressively cheerful, draped in pine garlands and twinkling lights. It smelled overwhelmingly of cinnamon and damp wool, two of Sarsha's least favorite scents. She checked in with a grimace, then immediately sought the least festive corner of the room, settling on a slightly broken chair by a window overlooking the deepening snow. "Rough trip up the mountain?" a voice boomed nearby. Sarsha didn't need to look to know the owner of the voice was offensively optimistic. She turned her head slowly, finding a man standing beside a towering, perfectly decorated Christmas tree. He was tall, clad in a cozy fleece, and radiating an almost unbearable amount of holiday spirit. "Rough trip implies an attempt at smoothness," Sarsha drawled, adjusting her glasses. "Mine was less a trip and more an aggressive collision with various poorly maintained roads." The man, "Tank," Red Klaus, merely chuckled, a deep, easy sound that grated on Sarsha's nerves. "Welcome to Juniper Peak. I'm the activity coordinator, here to ensure maximum seasonal joy, I assure you." "Klaus, my primary goal is achieving minimum seasonal interaction," Sarsha replied, pulling a thick book from her bag of dense, non-holiday themed classic. Klaus didn't flinch. "A formidable goal, but I've seen tougher nuts crack once the hot cocoa starts flowing." "I am the toughest nut," Sarsha insisted, her lips barely moving. "I've survived 3 family Christmases. I am immune to your festive weaponry." Before Klaus could respond, the lights in the lodge flickered violently, then plunged the room into sudden complete darkness. A chorus of nervous gasps rose from the few other guests. Sarsha, however, remained still. "Well, that simplifies things," she murmured. "Now I can pretend I'm asleep." Klaus pulled a powerful flashlight from his pocket, his movements immediate and practical. "All right, folks, nothing to worry about. Just the wind taking down a line." He approached Sarsha's chair, shining the beam on her face. "Looks like you're stuck with me for a bit, Ms. Minimal interaction. The generator is only powering the kitchen and one hallway." Sarsha squinted at the brightness. "This is a gross misuse of emergency lighting. You should be searching for matches, not blinding your guests." "The fire is already going in the main common room," Klaus said cheerfully. "And judging by the silence outside, the road is already impassable. Welcome to our impromptu snow day." Sarsha followed him reluctantly to the common room. It was warm, centered around a huge stone fireplace, and smelled pleasantly of wood smoke, overriding the cinnamon scent. They settled on opposite ends of a large leather couch. Sarsha pretended to read her book, but the low light and the sound of the wind whipping outside made concentration impossible. Klaus watched her for a moment, then decided to break the silence. "You know, for someone who hates the holidays, you have excellent posture for someone who is clearly judging everyone else's existence." Sarsha slowly lowered her book. "It's not the holidays I hate, Klaus. It's the forced sentimentality. The expectation that everyone must suddenly be their best, most giving selves. And you prefer people to be honest about their inner misanthropy?" he challenged, a slight smile playing on his lips. "Precisely. Give me an honest villain over a fake Santa any day." Klaus leaned forward, intrigued. "Fair enough. But doesn't that take effort? Being constantly cynical must be tiring." "It's the most restful thing I do," Sarsha said. "It prevents disappointment." "Optimism is just pessimism in a waiting room." They fell back into silence. But this time, the tension was different. It wasn't purely adversarial. It was the hum of 2 opposing, equally strong forces testing each other. The next morning, the snow was still falling relentlessly. The lodge guests were restless and bored, wandering aimlessly. Sarsha felt a familiar panic. Cabin fever was setting in. Klaus naturally was trying to organize an indoor scavenger hunt. Sarsha watched from the kitchen doorway as he enthusiastically explained the rules to a group of uninterested teenagers. "You look like you're plotting your escape route," Klaus noted, finding her after his failed attempt at forced fun. "I am calculating the velocity required to escape the emotional gravity of your good cheer," she confirmed. "How about you put that brain power to use?" "The coffee maker is jammed, and I have no idea how to fix it without electrocuting myself," Sarsha scoffed. "A tragedy of epic proportions. Fine. Lead the way." I might need the caffeine to sustain my hatred of this whole scenario. She followed him into the small, dark utility room next to the kitchen. Klaus handed her the flashlight. The sight of the commercial-grade coffee machine, all chrome and complex tubing, actually sparked a tiny flicker of interest in Sarsha. She wasn't just a marketing analyst. She was a puzzle solver, and this was a very stubborn metal puzzle. "Step back, Optimus Prime," Sarsha instructed Klaus, bending over the machine. "I need concentration, and your aura of goodwill is distracting." Klaus laughed softly, resting against the wall, watching her work. He noticed the way her brow furrowed in concentration, the precise, delicate movement of her fingers. He saw past the sharp exterior to the highly focused, meticulous intelligence underneath. It was attractive. After 10 minutes of focused effort, Sarsha found the blockage, a tiny, calcified bean wedged firmly in a tube. With a satisfied click, she fixed the tube. She flipped the switch, and the beautiful, reassuring hiss of a functional coffee machine filled the small room. "Genius," Klaus breathed, genuinely impressed. "You have saved Christmas." "Well, at least you've saved me from a revolution of under-caffeinated guests. I merely prefer functionality over dysfunction," Sarsha said, trying to mask her satisfaction. "Now, where is my reward?" Klaus immediately brewed her the first perfect cup of coffee. He added a ridiculous amount of peppermint syrup, just to tease her. Sarsha took a sip and recoiled. "Is this a punishment? It tastes like a candy cane dissolved in despair." "It's joy, Sarsha. Try to absorb it," he challenged, pushing the cup closer to her. "I'd rather absorb a punch," she grumbled, but took another slightly less disgusted sip. The warmth was comforting. They spent the next few hours in the utility room, surprisingly, talking about nothing related to the holidays. Klaus revealed that he wasn't always the cheerful activity coordinator. He was actually a musician who only took this seasonal job to fund his band's tour bus. "You're telling me this entire veneer of manufactured happiness is just a financial transaction?" Sarsha asked, her eyes widening slightly. "That's brilliantly cynical, Klaus." "See? We have more in common than you thought," he countered with a wink. "You hide behind sarcasm. I hide behind tinsel." Sarsha confessed her biggest professional fear, that her entire career was just selling people things they didn't need, making her feel like a fraud. "You packaged disappointment brilliantly, though," Klaus teased, and Sarsha couldn't help but smile. Genuine, unfiltered smile. The next day, the boredom was hitting hard. Klaus found Sarsha, staring out the window at the snow, her book forgotten on the table. "Still calculating your escape velocity?" he asked, bringing her a second cup of perfect, unsweetened coffee. "I'm contemplating the structural integrity of this snow globe we're trapped inside," she admitted. "It's suffocating." "Then let's break it," Klaus decided. "I need to check the emergency supply shed outside. It's only a 20-foot walk, but no one wants to go. And you want me to come? To comment on the futility of your existence while you freeze?" "Exactly. I need a sarcastic voice of reason to make sure I don't accidentally fall into a snowdrift," he insisted. They bundled up in absurdly thick coats and scarves. Sarsha was unrecognizable under layers of insulation, much to her relief. Stepping outside was breathtaking. The snow had stopped, and the world was utterly silent, covered in a pristine, glittering blanket. Sarsha stopped walking. The beauty was undeniable, even to her cynical heart. "See?" Klaus whispered, pausing beside her. "Even nature forces a moment of appreciation." "I appreciate the silence," Sarsha corrected, but her tone lacked its usual bite. The lack of human noise is truly a gift. They walked to the shed, retrieved a heavy box of candles, and started back. The wind had picked up slightly, and Sarsha slipped on an icy patch. Klaus immediately dropped his box and caught her, his arms wrapping tightly around her waist to steady her. Their faces were inches apart, separated by thick woolen scarves and the sudden shared warmth of proximity. Sarsha felt a jolt not of fear, but of awareness. She was intensely aware of the cold air on her cheeks and the heat radiating from his body. "Sarcasm might not save you from basic physics," Klaus murmured, his eyes searching hers. "But physics might save me from having to be polite," she replied, her voice soft. He didn't let go. Instead, Klaus leaned down, slowly pulling Sarsha's scarf down slightly, and his lips found hers. The kiss was cold from the outside air, but instantly warm and passionate on the inside. It was unexpected, impulsive, and utterly real. It wasn't the kind of kiss you could plan or filter. It was messy, slightly rushed, and felt entirely right for two people trapped in a cabin in the middle of a blizzard. They separated, breathless. Sarsha stared at him, her sarcasm momentarily knocked clean out of her system. Well, she finally managed, adjusting her hat. That was a deeply illogical, yet strangely compelling response to hypothermia. Klaus grinned, retrieving the box of candles. Welcome to the seasonal fling. It's temporary, ill-advised, and scientifically proven to be better than scavenger hunts. Sarsha decided to lean into the chaos. Fine. If we're going to embrace the cliché, we might as well do it with commitment. For the next 2 days, the lodge became their bubble. While the other guests played Monopoly, Sarsha and Klaus forged a secret, intense connection. They cooked dinner together, Sarsha's precision chopping, meeting Klaus's improvised seasoning. The result was delicious, messy, and collaborative. They stayed up late by the fire, talking in hushed tones, the snow falling softly outside the window, creating a soundproof, magical enclosure. Sarsha found herself craving his company, not just for his playful arguments, but for the genuine appreciation in his eyes when she said something truly witty. Klaus loved her sharp mind, but he loved the rare, unguarded moments more, the times her laugh escaped, full and bright, before she could contain it. They both knew the truth. The snow would melt.
Wow.
This was a seasonal escape, a brief, beautiful anomaly. Sarsha dreaded the sound of the plow, the return to her structured, predictable life in the city, where sarcasm was a weapon, not a shield. On the final evening, they were sitting quietly on the common room floor, watching the fire die down. The plow is scheduled for dawn, Klaus said quietly, stating the unavoidable truth. And the seasonal fling expires, Sarsha finished, not sarcastically, but with a touch of genuine sadness. It's okay to have something temporary, Klaus assured her, taking her hand. It doesn't make it any less real while it was happening. I just don't know how to go back to my life without your ridiculous optimism interrupting my workday, she confessed. And I don't know how to motivate the teenagers without your scathing commentary, he joked, trying to lighten the mood. They exchanged one long, final, honest kiss, a promise not of permanence, but of memory. At 6 a.m., the heavy, grating sound of the snowplow signaled the end. Sarsha watched from the window as the first track was cut through the mountain road. The other guests cheered. Sarsha simply gathered her bags. She found Klaus waiting by the door. Go be brilliantly cynical, Sarsha, he instructed, his eyes serious. But try to use that energy for something you actually love, not just against things you hate. You go save the world with your Christmas cheer. Klaus, she countered, managing a small, heartfelt smile. And maybe stop trying to sell people peppermint lattes. They hugged a strong, lingering embrace that felt like goodbye to the cabin, the snow, and the temporary versions of themselves they had become. Months later, Sarsha was back in the city, in her structured office, when a postcard arrived. The picture was a blurry mountain scene. The message, in a familiar scrawl, read, "Still stuck in my snow globe, but the soundtrack is better now. P.S. They sell peppermint lattes everywhere. Futility is eternal," she laughed genuinely. Thank you for watching Snow Day for Sarcasm. Did Sarsha and Klaus make the right choice by keeping their connection seasonal? Let us know what you think in the comments. Comment, like, share, and subscribe to Storycraft Studio.